Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Max here. We are today diving into chapter 13.8, The War That Ends All Wars, Save Israel for Last. This will be another heavy episode, so sit down, grab your favorite beverage. In my case, this is pine needle tea, that is very good, and full of vitamin C, giving me energy to speak to you here today. Usual housekeeping items here. The Amazon page where the book is located, with all the links to all the documentaries and all the information. Please do support me there. Our YouTube channel, like and subscribe, the Rumble channel, and the Brighteon channel. Please also find my cryptocurrency wallets in the description of this video if you would feel that you want to make a contribution, as I'm doing this for free. Now let's jump into this and explain to you why Israel is so important in this entire World War IV scenario. Hence, the thumbnail on your screen here should tell you half of the story already. Now, the country of Israel is a historically peculiar case. In history, we have always been taught that countries and empires are established by military conquest. The stronger army conquests the weaker army, takes over its land and government, and that's it. Borders expand, and empires are created and maintained sometimes for centuries, until they grow too big, or start a central bank, then they fall anyway, which leads to their unavoidable demise. Such a demise is occurring as I'm writing and speaking to you today, and I have tried to the best of my ability to describe the reasons why, who is behind it, and what to do to protect ourselves from the unavoidable outcome. The country of Israel is the only country I know of that does not follow the historical pattern I just described. Israel was created. It was handed over to the Khazarian mafia by one of its head members, Lionel Walter Rothschild, with the document that I show you on the screen here that I already showed you in chapter 4.2 previously. This is the famous Balfour Declaration that established the country of Israel in 1948. This document is dated November 7th, 1917, just after World War I. We have gone through all that story at length, so I will not talk about this in this chapter, as you can go back and listen to the entire story in chapter 4.2. Now, this document sealed the fate of the people in Palestine with the stroke of a pen. Nothing would ever be the same for the Semites of Palestine. This declaration is probably the most devastating document ever made in history. It came on the heels of World War I, as we said, where the Zionists managed to convince the US to enter into war with Europe, thus destroying the German Empire at the time. The same tactic was later used again during World War II to achieve exactly the same result once again. They basically said, if you do not give us the promised land of Israel, we will not lobby our paid-off politicians to enter the war, and you stand to lose the war. The State of Israel was then established in 1948, and the real Holocaust began by the hand of the fake Khazarian Mafia Jews that occupied the Palestinian territory. There's a reason that the fake Jews has been expelled from 109 countries and territories in the past. It's not because the nation-states are racist, anti-Semites, which is not even a thing, by the way, or any other bonehead excuses they can come up with. No, it's because they have proven to be a cancer to the territories they enter. They have always brought deprivation, corruption, and conflict everywhere they went. Now, I do not wish to be accused of anti-Semitism, although I couldn't care less. I don't wish to speak ill of any group or religion, so I have to emphasize once more that I am not talking of Jews as a religious group. They have all the rights to worship what they wish, as long as they don't disturb anybody. I'm talking here exclusively of the fake Jews, Khazarian mafia types that I have so many times mentioned in this book. The satanic Talmudic Jew that has taken over control of all our institutions and corrupted our world to levels beyond comprehension. The people in charge today are the ones I show below here or on your screen. Expelled from all the places indicated here for a very good reason. And I have the distinct feeling that this is happening again in Israel and also on a world scale. I will describe more as we proceed. But let's take a look at this little screenshot here for you. So learn from history 109 times and counting that the Jews have been expelled in the past. It says here, in 1290, King Edward of England, which is pictured on the left, signed the edict expelling the Jews from England. Also in 1278, 269 Jews were hanged in Britain for stealing gold through coin clipping. This is why our coins have ridged edges today. To prevent Jews from shaving the perimeter of the gold coins down with knives, which made the coins smaller, while they secretly stole and stashed the gold. The Jews have been a plague on the nations that have hosted them for thousands of years. Eventually, the Jews were out their welcome through rape, murder, and thievery, and thus end up getting expelled from the nations which took them in. Obviously, the time for present-day expulsions is once again rapidly approaching. Below is a partial list of the areas where the Jews has been deported from. Now, this list starts in the year 250, and then in the 1400s, and the 1500s, and the 1700s, culminating in the bottom, Arab countries in 1948. So this is how many times these supposed Jews has been kicked out. And now, I take offense to the fact that they always keep calling them Jews, because Jews have no fault, okay? These are Khazarian mafia types. They are fake Jews. They don't read the Torah. They have invented their own religion, which is satanic, and they have invented a Talmud to support their religion. And the Talmud is satanic in nature, as I will show you as we move on. Okay? Nothing wrong with Jews, everything wrong with Khazarian Talmudic Jews. Okay? That is a very important distinction to make. What you see here on the screen now is the country of Palestine, land of the real Judeans, land of the real Semites. The fact that the Khazarian mafia has conjured the expression of anti-Semitism is literally absurd. To be an anti-Semite, one would have to be anti-Palestinian, not anti-Jew. It makes no sense at all, just word salad confusion to brainwash the masses. If you look at your screen, you will see the map on the left. This map was issued by National Geographic in 1947, 1 year before the Nakba. There was no such thing called Israel. The entirety of the region was called Palestine. If you look at your right, this was a Palestinian beach. Photo is from 1944, when Israel still didn't exist. That looks like a Mediterranean paradise resort to me. The map I'm about to show you shows the occupation and annexation of the Palestinians since 1948. And somehow, we are meant to believe that these people has no reason to be irritated or agitated in any way. Israel was given to the Khazarian mafia fake Jews by private individuals, not by the UK government, because you cannot give land away that doesn't belong to you in the first place. Were the Palestinians ever consulted on the matter at all? Of course not. They were just occupied and thrown out of their homes. The new settlers, so to speak, needed more land, for reasons that are not clear to anybody to this very day. On the screen you see Palestinians expelled. In 1948, Zionist military forces expelled at least 750,000 Palestinians and captured 78% of historic Palestine. The remaining 22% was divided into the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. Here you see the green parts were Palestinian land from 1917 going forward. The blue land is Israeli, and the white ones are under Israeli occupation. So basically, Palestine has disappeared and been conquered by Israel. It's absolutely devastating to watch this in such a short time. They managed to do this. The argument that Palestinian terrorists even exist is absolutely preposterous. The real terrorists are not the Palestinians. It's the occupying Israelis that show absolutely no regard to the surroundings and disregards completely any treaties or agreements made, even in the UN, which they helped found, by the way. This problem has reached an unsurmountable impasse at this point. It will not be allowed to go on anymore. Yasser Arafat was one of the most outspoken and diplomatic leaders of Palestine in history. He was fighting a lost cause, though, and was poisoned on the 12th of October 2004, passing away 1 month later. Since then, things have gotten much, much worse for the Semites, leading up to the Holocaust that we're witnessing in 2024-2025, as I'm telling you this today. Now let's listen to Arafat speaking in 1979 regarding the UN and the West. These words rings as true today as back then. Let's hear Arafat talk himself.
I am sorry to say that your mass media, the Western mass media, always beside the Israelis. Your baby in this area. And you are forgetting completely this organized terrorism, even in the United Nations, the Security Council. You refuse to condemn this barbarian attack on the South, but you bless it. And you said that we accept the raid, but it was a little bit more than required. I have to ask those who used to speak about human rights. Where is this human rights there in the South?
That was Arafat in 1978 or 79, I'm not really sure. The power and influence that Israel has on the world cannot be neglected in any way. As good little Khazars, they have slowly managed to infiltrate every aspect of governance, especially in the most powerful country in the world, the United States of America. As I'm telling you this today, Donald J. Trump just won the US presidential elections in what appears to be a landslide victory. He has now been in power for a few months. I was actually really suspicious at the time because I didn't think that he would actually manage to get the White House in January 2025, because the Khazarian mafia would throw everything they have at him to prevent him from getting into actual power. And we know that they will come after him hard after years of sabotage and smear. But so far so good. The man is still in office, and the entirety of 2025 has been a roller coaster of emotions, and it's very confusing. Nobody knows where we stand exactly. But I still trust the plan. I trust the people behind him, not necessarily the man himself, as I said before. But I can see how things are turning around very radically and very quickly. So the man certainly deserves my respect, as I would never have survived the attacks that he had to endure during these last years. It's absolutely unbelievable. Now here I will show you a wonderful little meme that describes exactly what I'm describing. It doesn't matter if a Republican or a Democrat wins, because Israel owns them all. Here you go. And most of Congress and the Senate has double citizenship with Israel, which I told you before is not lawful. This man on the screen here owns the United States of America. There can be no doubt about that. To prove my point, I will show you a few clips of notorious people speaking on this issue. Thomas Massie, in particular, a congressman, and one of my favorites, he made a long interview with Tucker Carlson recently, and he has exposed the organization called AIPAC. I strongly advise you to find it and watch it in full. It's a wonderful interview. AIPAC is an Israel lobbying organization that is deeply entrenched into American politics, and for some strange reason, it doesn't have to register as a foreign agent, which is the law. This is absolutely absurd, as all other nations meddling in politics in America has to register under such circumstances. Now, a very short time after this interview was aired, his wife passed away under mysterious circumstances. So one has to wonder, who did he insult exactly? Let's watch this short clip so you can understand what I'm talking about.
Everybody but me has an AIPAC person.
What's that mean, an AIPAC person?
It's like your babysitter, your AIPAC babysitter, who is always talking to you for AIPAC. They're probably a constituent in your district, but they are firmly embedded in AIPAC. And
every member has something like this?
That's how it works on the Republican side. And when they come to DC, you go have lunch with them. And they've got your cell number, and you have conversations with them.
That's absolutely crazy.
I've had 4 members of Congress say, I'll talk to my AIPAC person. And it's literally what we call them, my AIPAC guy. I'll talk to my AIPAC guy and see if I can get him to dial those ads back.
Why have I never heard this before?
Why would they want to tell their constituents that they've basically got a buddy system with somebody who's representing a foreign country? It doesn't benefit the congressman for people to know that, so they're not going to tell you that.
So, who is AIPAC exactly? On your screen you will see it says here American-Israeli Public Affairs Committee. The American-Israeli Public Affairs Committee is a pro-Israel lobbying group that advocates his policies to the legislative and executive branches of the United States. One of several pro-Israel lobbying organizations in the country, it has been called one of its most powerful lobbying groups. Basically, if you're a politician in the US, if you don't take money from AIPAC, or bribes, I would call them, you're not going to succeed. If you still don't play ball, they have many other ways to get to the politicians. And this is very pervasive in the entertainment industry as well. Epstein, Diddy, just to mention the recent exposure. They entrap the person of interest in some compromising position, usually with child, sex trafficking, and sex is usually involved, and then blackmail the individual for the rest of his or her days. This is a typical Mossad tactic, and they are very, very good at it. All of this is coming out to the surface now, and it will shock the world when some of the names come out. We are not there yet, but trust me, it is coming. Now I will play you another video of an individual that explains it very well. It's a cancer in our realm, and it's occurring everywhere, in every nation. This is extremely common. The higher placed the individual is, the more dirt they have on him. The system works like a Swiss clock until it doesn't. This is what we're seeing emerge from the swamp today. Let me play you this short little clip of a news anchor that finally lost it and told the truth.
And our leaders are low-life scum that screw little girls so the Jews can screw America. That's what's happening in this country. I just said it. That's what's going on in this country. And our FBI is corrupt. The Supreme Court is corrupt. The Justice Department is corrupt. The news media is corrupt. The whole country is corrupt. Because we've walked away from Almighty God and we've allowed Kabbalah practicing Jews to defile the nation. Put that video out. Go ahead and clip this video and send it out. I dare you. You won't do it because you're scared that the truth may get out to the American people. I'm had it up to here with the corruption in this country. Little children being raped for the benefit of Israel. That's all it's about, Doc. Little American children being raped for the benefit of Israel. American politicians raping little American girls to be videotaped by Israeli Mossad so that Israel can blackmail American politicians. That's the state of America today. God ought to destroy this country for what we've become.
There you go. Pretty hard hitting, isn't it? But he's telling the exact truth. Every single word he said is true. As hard as that is to hear, this is prevalent in every country in the world, but especially in the United States, which is obviously unacceptable. Another very outspoken critic of the Khazarian Mafia Zionists is a man called Scott Ritter, which I respect very much. He is an ex-UN nuclear weapons inspector who called BS on the entire Saddam has weapon of mass destruction farce. He called it out already back then and has since been a patriotic whistleblower, with all the backlash that follows, of course. Please do follow his work online, as he speaks absolute truth. And here's what he has to say about the relationship between Israel and America.
But Israel, again, does not contribute anything. This is a nation that has a support network that brags about buying the United States Congress. Buying, they spent $100 million this year alone, AIPAC, to buy. If you add all the pro-Israeli lobbies together, we're probably talking close to $1 billion or more dollars. We have a American Jewish lady who is, pledging $100 million to Donald Trump's election just so he supports Israel. American democracy cannot be bought. I mean, it is being bought, but it cannot be allowed to be bought. And Israel is in the business of buying American democracy. Why? Is it a friendship, Judge, if I have to buy your friendship? I mean, if I'm taking a lady out for dinner and I have to pay her for the night, I think there's another term we use for that. Yeah. So America is Israel's whore. We're not Israel's friend. But Israel...
True words has been spoken. Scott Ritter is absolutely right. America is Israel's whore. That's exactly what it is. Now, it appears that the entire world stands with Israel in one way or the other, especially after the famous October 7th attack. Israel is victimized. They can do no wrong. We must help them. Remember the Holocaust, and so on, blah, blah, blah. Israel has the right to defend themselves. Billions pouring in military aid. Israel is a very wealthy country. Do they need our money? What is this really? We now know that the attack on October 7th was orchestrated. I described this before. It was a false flag to lure the region into World War IV. Hamas was a creation of Mossad and the CIA, a boogeyman to be blamed for everything wrong, just like ISIS and Al-Qaeda at the time. So let me show you another little video here that describes who actually founded Hamas. And this is shocking because it comes out of the president of Israel at the time. Listen to this.
So are you saying Benjamin Netanyahu deliberately boosted Hamas to try to prevent a Palestinian state?
Yeah, sure. He deliberately and systematically even told, on record, whoever wants to avoid the threat of a two-state solution has to support my policy of paying protection money to the Hamas.
So what we did, with the permission of our Prime Minister, is to let Qatar to transfer a huge amount of money in cash, probably more than $1.4 billion. By doing it, we increased the power of Hamas. We did everything in order to make sure that Hamas will go on controlling Gaza, and Palestinian Authority will control the West Bank, so they will fight each other.
Netanyahu maintains the Qatar money was to avoid a humanitarian catastrophe. Having helped to build up Hamas, Netanyahu has now vowed to destroy it.
He fed the beast, and it exploded in our face. If you base your national security strategy solely on force, then you need to win 24/7 forever.
There you go. There can be no doubt. There can be no doubt what Hamas actually is. It's a Mossad creation from the start, and they were financed in order to become the boogeyman, so to speak, so they could have somebody to blame. It's a false flag of massive proportions. Here on your screen you will see a news article. On the left it says, breaking, House Republicans have released a new Israel aid bill. It offsets 14.3 billion in Israel aid with 14.3 billion in cuts to the IRS. This bill includes zero aid to Ukraine. Well, that's a good thing. But there you go. Why is America sending money to Israel? They don't need it. On the left we have Elizabeth Warren, senator, also called Pocahontas affectionately. She says the Israeli bombing of a refugee camp inside the designated safe zone is horrific. Israel has a duty to protect innocent civilians, and Palestinians seeking shelter in Rafah have nowhere safe to go. Netanyahu's assault on Rafah must stop. We need an immediate ceasefire. Okay, Elizabeth. But then the readers added context to her tweet. It says, this year Senator Warren voted to supply Israel with 3.8 billion of weapons and defund the UN's aid organization for Gaza. That is the reality. Double-faced, double-speak. They're all the same. I'll show you this one too. The Times of Israel. Israel has asked the US for 10 billion in emergency military aid. Okay. And then on the left here, this is a very, very powerful meme. Here you have these countries, so Israel, US, Europe, Canada, are fighting this tiny little Gaza. All that money for that tiny, tiny strip of land. Do you see it yet? It makes no sense. Does this resemble Ukraine in any way? It sure does. The hypocrisy is off the charts on this one. And that is a good thing, because now we can see them. We know who they are. In many ways, the Israeli conflict is even more blatant money laundering scheme than Ukraine. Not my war, not my problem. My war is with you, Khazarian Mafia. Only you. Here we have an interesting expression that has been invented. It's called Israeled. It's a verb. Taking something that isn't yours and then shamelessly pretending it belongs to you while playing the victim. Here we have a nice little picture of US taxpayer dollars, and the attacker is also US taxpayer dollars. Isn't that cute? So the October 7th attacks were atrocious, but they did serve the purpose of moving the narrative massively to Israel and putting Israel in the front page. And media played its brilliant part, as always, spewing lies like there was no tomorrow. They spoke about babies in ovens, remember that? Well, that didn't turn out so well for them, because very, very quickly the Q digital warriors dismantled that farce completely, as I will show you here. Here we have a tweet from Ben Shapiro, who is a total Zionist stooge and paid disinformation agent. This man should be banned from internet for life. He says, you watched pictorial proof of dead Jewish babies? Here it is. You pathetic Jew haters. Israel will minimize civilian casualties, but Israel will not allow the pieces of human shit who did this to live. Every ounce of blood spilled in Gaza is on Hamas. Well, that's a horrifying picture to watch, and it was out for a few days. Then somebody took this image and put it into Optic AI or not. It's a website where you can identify if images are made by AI or not. And this image is generated by AI, so it's totally fake. Okay, this is the narrative that they are spinning here. It's absolutely disgusting. Now, there were claims of mass murders and rape. None of it turned out to be true. It was just fake news over and over again. Now, who owns the media? Remind me again. Ah, yeah, the Khazarian mafia owns the media. See how this works? We can never get an objective and fair news reporting when the same people own all the media outlets. It's doomed to be one-sided. We have articles like this. On the left from BBC, more than 500 people have died in Gaza after Israel launched massive retaliatory airstrikes according to Gaza's health ministry. And then it says more than 700 people have been killed in Israel since Hamas launched its attack on Saturday. So above we have 500 people died, but then 700 people have been killed in Israel. So you see how they use words? Here on the left, we have just in, Israel's soldiers have discovered at least 40 babies with their heads removed following this brutal Hamas terrorist attack in Israel. Well, that news turned out to be fake. It never happened. Here we have a newspaper article that is really interesting out of Zero Hedge, which I follow, and so should you. Monday, January 8, 2024. CNN admits all Gaza coverage is run past team under Israeli military censor. Wow. So CNN has long been criticized by media analysts and journalists for its deference to the Israeli government and the Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, in its coverage of the occupied Palestinian territories. And the cable network admitted days ago that it follows a protocol that could give Israeli censors influence over its stories. A spokesperson for the network confirmed to The Intercept, which is another newspaper, that its news coverage about Israel and Palestine is run through and reviewed by the CNN Jerusalem Bureau, which is subject to the IDF censor. So, everything you see on the news regarding this situation is fake, phony, and false. Okay? Let's move on. As I usually say, the memes write themselves in this case. Here you have on the left, Russia soldier, invasion. Palestinian soldier, terrorism. American soldier, intervention. Israeli soldier, self-defense. And then you have tweets like this, with Netanyahu saying, if Israel falls, the whole world falls apart. And this doctor on top says, nice try, now fuck off, you psycho. Yeah, that's the attitude we need in this circumstance, for sure. Now, the atrocities that the Palestinian has been subject to cannot be described in words. Books will be written in the future regarding this open-air Holocaust that the West sponsored and supported. The tactics used by the Israel IDF are beyond evil. Small kids are being shot in the head by snipers. All the hospitals, schools, churches, and mosques has been destroyed. War crimes, folks. People in food lines are being targeted and bombed. It's absolutely unreal. But then, if Israel shows up at the International Criminal Court, you would have a scene like this that you see on the screen. Netanyahu has actually been sentenced by the International Criminal Court. He has an international arrest warrant out for him. Will that ever happen? Unlikely. But this is what he would say in front of the court, not guilty, although all the evidence is clear for everyone to see. This is the world we live in now. Today we hear frequently, give us back the hostages. Please enlighten me, because I'm confused. Are we speaking of the handful of Israeli hostages they took on October 7th? Or the thousands of Palestinians that you are holding, Israel? I would like some clarification on that point before you make any further statements like this on this matter. Here you have a graph. Hostages held by Israel, 9,400. Hostages held by Hamas, 111. So what are we talking about here exactly, Netanyahu? Which hostages? The world is watching, thankfully, and the masses will not stand for it anymore. Netanyahu is a wanted man. He cannot exit the country in fear of facing arrest for war crimes, as it should be. Looking at all this, one would wonder, what is the character and thought process of people that are willing to do such things? There are plenty of very decent, honest and hard-working people in Israel, but its government and military are borderline insane. Clinically psychotic in my view. Most of the Israeli population wants nothing to do with any of this, and they are protesting the government loudly right now, and they've been doing that for years. The protests, however, fall on deaf ears, obviously, because the running class knows very well that there's only one way out of this situation of their own making, and that solution is gallows or a firing squad. So they do what all insane people do. They wait it out as long as they can. The entire Middle East, plus Russia and Turkey, are standing with Palestine and are ready to act with armies that will crush Israel and wipe it off the map if need be. And from what I have understood, this is most likely to happen quite soon. I have heard that Israel will probably be renamed Judea, and the Palestinians will get their rights back, with good reason. What happens to the citizens of Israel, I don't know. But I have seen many of them are emigrating to Ukraine, of all places. It seems that the Khazars wants to go back home after all. Not too hard to establish a new country when all the fighting men are dead, right? There's nobody to object. What a remarkable coincidence that is. It just happens to be the Khazarian Mafia homeland. So look at this little interesting clip that I found, taken from a train station in Ukraine. And look at these figures running around on your screen now, and tell me, where do we think they come from? Here we go. Yeah, those are Israeli settlers settling in Ukraine. So that might explain why I'm showing you this silly picture here on the screen that I found. There's no confusion here, I assure you. Here you have an idiot with a shaved head making the Nazi salute with a Ukrainian flag with a Star of David on it. Can you see how these are the same people? Exactly the same people. The Zionists are actually Nazi in nature. They basically invented the Azov battalion and everything we spoke about in the previous chapter. On the right here, you will see, when you're looking for a classy way to show everyone that you're deep-throat military-industrial complex propaganda. This guy has a cute little pin on his lapel with an Israeli flag and a Ukrainian flag. Yes, the Zionists are deep into Ukraine. Deep into Ukraine. When I say that the world is waking up to this insanity, I'm actually not joking, as I will show you here on this graph. This is an interesting little one from Shadow of Ezra, saying that 67% of Americans aged 18 to 24 think that Jews are oppressors. 1 in 5 young Americans thinks the Holocaust is a myth. Good for them. Do you consider this as anti-Semitism? You see, the people are indeed waking up to this farce. And hopefully it will be over very soon. Now eventually, the young demographics, complicated word, are waking up in great numbers. And that is very encouraging to see, as they are indeed our future managers. I cannot use the word leaders, that feels wrong. So let's look back at the character of these maniacs that we're currently dealing with. On the base of it all is the religion, which is not Judaism. Let me state that one more time. But it's based on the Talmud. Here are a few examples on how this scripture differs from the text that we are used to in our indoctrination in the West, so-called Christianity. The picture on your left here I've already showed you in previous chapters, but please pause your screen and read through here point by point the difference between Judaism from the Talmud and Christianity from the Bible. Here on the right I'm posting you a new little meme that I found that I will read out for you here. This is from the Talmud. I go through point by point. Even the best of Goyim should all be killed. For your information, Goyim is me and you. If a Goy hits a Jew, he must be killed. All children of Goyim are animals. When the Jew murders a Gentile, or a Goyim in this case, there will be no death penalty. Gentiles, Goys, are not humans, they are beasts. If you eat with a Goy, it's the same thing as eating with a dog. A Jew may violate but not marry a Jew girl. If a Jew finds an object lost by a Gentile Goy, it does not have to be returned. Basically, they are thieves, which we know. Gentile Goy girls are in a state of nida, filth from birth. Jews may use lies to circumvent a Goy Gentile. A Jew may have sex with a child as long as the child is less than 9 years old. Read that again, please. Pedophilia, anybody? Gentiles, Goys, prefer sex with cows. I didn't know that I had that proclivity. Thank you for informing me, asshole. I'm obviously not a psychologist or a scholar of any kind, but I can say with absolute certainty that what I read here is sick beyond belief. And yes, the elites of Israel, the Talmudic Jews, do indeed speak in these terms. I will show you a good example here from a rabbi, but I will not entertain these people by spreading this madness more than I have to. But I will play you this short little clip of this idiot speaking in these terms. So please enjoy this.
Now, it happens to be that Jewish law permits the enslavement of any non-Jew, white or black. That's another question which got raised. But that has nothing to do with racism. That's just a heter that we are allowed to enslave non-Jewish populations, perhaps to bring them to mitzvos, bring them to Torah and the like, but it's not a black thing for sure.
So yeah, very encouraging words, isn't it? This is the way they speak. This is a Talmudic Jew talking here. So I will also show you a very good summary here made by Al Jazeera, the news channel, on the Gaza conflict that describes exactly what is going on currently and has been going on now this last couple of years. War crimes to an extent never before seen. And then on the other side, we'll discuss who is doing this. So let me play this clip for you. It's 9 minutes long, beware, but it's very, very informative. Here we go.
Over the last year, we have witnessed what is the greatest crime of the 21st century. And perversely, it's a crime that has been meticulously documented and presented to us by the people who are carrying it out. We at Al Jazeera have collated all that evidence, packaged it. What it reveals is truly shocking. We focus on the town of Khaza, which is a small town of about 13,000 people. The Israeli army enters this town just after Christmas. It's emptied of people, and they simply destroy it. And they record themselves doing it. They post before and after videos, and the town is entirely flattened.
There is no precedent for this in the whole history of the Israeli army. We have become addicted to explosions.
The willful destruction of civilian property for punitive reasons, or even perhaps to create a buffer strip, is illegal. You can't do that. It's against international law. And they're doing it, and they're recording it, and they're putting it on Facebook. And we know the names of the soldiers and the commanders who did it. They go into the homes of Palestinians, and they're often clearly staying there, and they just smash them up, and they film themselves smashing them up. They also delight in going through women's underwear drawers, and this is a sort of recurring obsession. You have to see Israeli soldier videos in the context of the broader output of Israeli society.
If you gave me a button to just erase Gaza, every single living being in Gaza would no longer be living tomorrow, I would press it in a second. I would press it right now. Give me that button and press it right now.
There you
go. And I think most Israelis would.
There's an Israeli song called This Was My Home. And what they would do is dress up as caricatures of obviously what they perceive Palestinians to be, being sung mockingly to people who no longer have homes. We're not looking at some sort of obscure subculture within Israeli society. This is mainstream Israeli society. When people tell you who they are, believe them.
It's an entire nation out there that is responsible, and we will fight until we'll break their backbone. 972
magazine carried a story about how the Israelis were using AI, artificial intelligence, for targeting. Essentially, they had a problem. They wanted a rate of strikes in the Gaza Strip, which human computation couldn't keep up with. They needed to use AI to identify these targets. They're using people's phones and their social media, any information at all they can scrape about them, and then they track them through their phones. So who are they talking to on their phone? Who are they simply near as they're carrying their phones around? And they have a little league table. And if you accumulate enough points, you can be killed. The terrifying thing is, how do you kill them? Where do you kill them? And they reached the calculation that it's much easier to kill people when they're at home, which is where the second bit of software kicks in, which is called Where's Daddy? The naming is indicative of a fairly dark sense of humour. They track you. Once Daddy is home, they can kill you. And of course, along with anyone else who is in the house as well. It's astonishing what Israeli soldiers do put on film. But that raises the question of what they don't put on film. You very rarely see them actually fighting. Every now and then you'll see them all firing their guns, but usually pretty clear there's no incoming. On the other hand, what you see a great deal of is them dressing up in women's underwear. Has Israel managed to destroy Hamas? I would point to a really simple, common sense thing. Israeli soldiers have posted thousands of videos online. The IDF, the Israeli army, repeatedly posts videos online. Scour those videos for the bodies of dead fighters, and there's remarkably few. I remember 20 years ago in Afghanistan when the Taliban fell, before the age of social media, and I remember making films about that, footage with piles of corpses. It's extraordinary how few dead Hamas fighters we are seeing. Another extraordinary facet of this conflict is the repeated attacks on hospitals. They have assaulted every single one of the 36 hospitals in the Gaza Strip. We have the films of Mohammed al-Halou, a remarkable young journalist who really chronicled the whole story of the Nasser hospital. The Israelis are very keen to drive people taking refuge in the hospital out, to force them further south. They send a messenger into the hospital to order the people there to leave, and they use a detainee. And they've made it quite clear to him, they know who his mother is, where she is, and that she will be killed if he does not return. So he does return. They send him back because the people still aren't leaving. People aren't leaving because they don't trust the Israelis. One of the few people who does leave is his mother. She follows him out with a small group of other people, and he's killed in front of her eyes, having used him as a messenger, as a human shield, effectively. They simply shoot him. They shoot him 3 times in front of her eyes and kill him. What is extraordinary about so many of the soldiers' videos is the sense of impunity they have. One particular video is the 202nd paratroopers. When they left Gaza, individuals within that unit put together a video. It's like a commemorative video, and it's edited and it's set to music and so on. It's been up on YouTube now for 6 months. It includes 3 men, separate incidents, men who are shot by snipers. They are putting up the killing of people who are clearly unarmed. And for soldiers to post this in their own names shows a sense that they simply don't have to account for their actions at all. Deaths by snipers are very common in the Gaza Strip, and it's not just adult men. There's a particular shot of a child, a young boy, who was shot at the gates of the Nasser hospital. It's then too dangerous to collect the body. If you're a sniper, you know who you're shooting. You've got very good sights and you know perfectly well what you're looking at. Mohammed al-Helou, he is almost killed numerous times. One of the occasions is he's shot. He's wearing a flak jacket. They've actually managed to hit the thing that says press. One of the dreadful things about working as a journalist and as a human rights worker during this conflict, not only do you not have sort of immunity, as it were, you are positively a target. Detainees are clearly abused when they are first taken prisoner. We've all seen the images of them stripped to their underwear. It's clearly designed to humiliate. We gathered accounts in the Gaza Strip of people being beaten. We have a picture of one man who had a Star of David carved into his back. In a way, for many, this is just a prelude to when they're taken into Israel, to these detention centres. In our film, we have one grotesque eyewitness account of a dog being used to rape someone.
لفجأة جردوه من ملابسه السفلية. إجا كابتن كان موجود. إجا زي وضع مادة إشي حاجة إشي يعني على مؤخرة الشاب. وأطلقوا كان في كلب موجود أطلقوا عليه الكلب. كلب هذا يعني كيف أقول لك؟ مش مارس الجنس اغتصب الشاب. اغتصبوه في معنى الكلمة.
UN report at the end of June identified 53 individuals who have been killed in Israeli detention. There's a report on Israel's Channel 13 broadcasting to the world, advertising the fact, celebrating the fact that these men spend 24 hours in complete darkness with a single hole for a toilet, in handcuffs, chained together with leg cuffs. The whole focus of the report is clearly the Israeli public, and what they're trying to stress is how badly these people are being treated, because clearly the political issue within Israel is whether they're not being treated badly enough.
של אינוס, בעצור כפות, זה לא מעניין אותך? בגדול, עוד פעם, זה מעניין לי את העכוז מה עשו לאיש חמאס הזה. אני כל הזמן זוכר, קודם כל הדבר היחיד שמבחינתי הוא בעיה פה, זה שזו לא איזושהי מדיניות מוסדרת של המדינה להתעלל בעצירים, כי בגדול זה גם, קודם כל מגיע להם, וזה אחלה נקמה שאנחנו צריכים לתת להם, ודבר שני, אולי זה גם ישמש אותנו קצת יותר כהרתעה.
No one can hide here, no one can pretend they didn't know what was happening, because the Israelis were shouting it in our faces. The double standards of Western media, of Western politicians, are just breathtaking. I mean, you just have to look at David Lammy and Keir Starmer's response to the Iranian attack on Israel, which didn't actually kill anyone.
I utterly condemn this attempt by the Iranian regime to harm innocent Israelis.
And they were straight to the lectern condemning it in a way that they have not condemned the Israelis, who have killed over 40,000 people. It's quite clear that the lives of one group of people are worth more than the lives of another group of people. No one can say they didn't know. The Israelis could not have made it clearer to us what they were doing in their rhetoric, social media they were posting, and what their own media was saying, that this was an exercise in ethnic cleansing, quite possibly an exercise in genocide. They were making it abundantly clear to us. And if we are ignorant, we are willfully ignorant. When people tell you who they are, believe them. And the Israelis have certainly told us who they are over the last year. The experience of the last year is testimony to the inadequacy of traditional media in the West, which seems simply to be unable to tell this story as it really is, and it highlights more than ever the need for independent media outlets like Double Down News, and I would urge you to support Double Down News on Patreon.
It is absolutely devastating, this video. Every time I watch it, I become emotional. How is it that the entire world is not acting against Israel? What is the UN doing? Why are they still walking around and breathing, these monsters? They're even telling us they are posting it online. The media in Israel is clearly talking about committing war crimes and genocide for everybody to see. How is this allowed to go on, I wonder? Maybe they're showing it to us on purpose so that we really know who they are. Now, as I've shown you already, the Talmudic Jew cannot be referred to as a sane and functioning social individual. Starting from the deceit of the flag they use, the Star of David, supposedly a religious symbol. Well, says who? I'll show you here. Show me where in the Bible it says that this star is attributed to David. Are you still searching? Well, you won't find it attributed to David. You will, however, find it attributed to Satan in Acts 7:43 and Amos 5:26. Satan, you say. Okay. Here on the left you have a Jew saying, I hate you with every fiber of my being. And the Christian says, I know. I read the Talmud. So here, dear listener, I will teach you a new word. This word is loxism. Loxism is the hatred, discrimination, or prejudice against those who are not Jewish, especially against those of white European descent. It is the most powerful form of racial hatred on the planet. Yet, it is never mentioned in the mainstream media. This is why I'm teaching you this word now. This is not racism, okay? This is loxism, which is white racism on white, which makes absolutely no sense. But this is who these people are. Did you know that at the height of American slavery, 78% of slave owners were ethnic Jews? This has been clearly documented. It says here in this book, The Historical Encyclopedia of World Slavery, Volume 1. It says, could or would never aspire to own slaves. About 5,000 Jews owned one or more slaves, about 1.25% of all the slave owners in the antebellum South. Okay. There you have it. I find it remarkable how many times I notice behavior from Israel that is painfully resembles what was described as Nazi behavior in World War II. We've already established that the Nazis did nothing of the sort, but the Israelis most certainly are, and are behaving in such manner. So the natural question in this case is, who are the real Nazis here? The Germans or the Israelis? We have pictures emerging like this, that I will show you now, that kind of describes the situation in a good way. On the left, if you don't fight this shit, you might be part of the problem. So, on the left picture here, if this is self-defense, Israel, on the right, this is also self-defense, Nazis. You see the resemblance? On the right here, we have the old man looking on his laptop. Ah, those poor Jews were so persecuted. Let me look up why. 5 hours later, he dresses up in his SS uniform with a swastika on his arm. Yeah, that's what happens. Now let's finish up this obscene issue with what appears to be at the root of the problem. The Kabbalah. Satan worship goes back far further than we can remember. And Bibi himself, Bibi Netanyahu that is, a fake Jew and a fake Netanyahu, he's actually of Polish descent, and he is an imposter. So you still stand with Israel? I hope not, because it's a lost cause. The world is ridding itself from them like a bad case of fleas, and the world that awaits us on the other side will be wonderful and filled with light and prosperity. At least, that's what I chose to believe, because I follow the plan. Here we see on the left the Kabbalah, and then you have the Kaaba of Allah in Mecca. Oh wait, they are two separate peoples. Or are they? Even Christians praise to the cube. Are you ready to learn yet? Look at that image. That's a Kabbalah as well. Here we have a nice picture on the right with Bibi strapped a black cube to his head. So it's over for Iran, for sure. These people are ridiculous. What is this shit? We have this image here of Bibi. His family's name is Milikowski. They are from Poland. They changed their name so you don't realize that he's actually a settler. Yeah, They're all fake. And they are not Semites. They never came from Israel. They came from Poland. They came from Khazaria, from those areas of the world. And they settled in Israel and stole the land. Now, thankfully, Israel has since October 7, the fake invasion, been all over the news, and we have seen on social media and in some honest media outlets Israel being exposed for the animals that they actually are. So I call this the Israeli mistake. The Israeli mistake occurred on October 7, and it opened the floodgates for them. They are now in the news for all the wrong reasons, and their actions cannot be justified internationally. Everybody hates Israel at this point. And this is too bad for the Israeli citizens, who are good people, hard-working patriots, I'm sure. And they don't deserve any of this. So, when Israel becomes eliminated, I really hope that they find it in their hearts to spare the Israeli population, because they have done no wrong. Their government and the elites, however, who are Khazarian mafia types, deserve to hang. And there's nothing that can save them at this point. This will happen very soon. I don't know how, I don't know when, but it will. There's a beautiful country in Asia called Malaysia. Did you know that Malaysia doesn't recognize Israel as a country? And therefore, no passengers entering Malaysia on plane or however, their passports are not recognized in customs. They are not allowed to enter the country. So Malaysia's got it right. And that's why they will prosper in the future, because the Khazarian mafia has no foothold in that country. Yet, that is. So this is the story about Israel. I hope you understand how they are going down and the reason why they are going down and the reason why the scale has to shift here. Israel has to be dealt with because it's the last piece of the puzzle. Ukraine has been dealt with. Kazakhstan has been dealt with, as we said yesterday, or the previous chapter. So the Khazarian mafia has nowhere else to go. The last part of the puzzle is to take down the headquarters of the global Khazarian mafia enterprise, which is Israel. It has to be done, or the world will never be at peace. Once that happens, there will be no more war, because we know that every single war on our realm is led by the Khazarian mafia. And as they are now headquartered in Israel, specifically, Israel has to be dealt with, and that government has to fall, and power given back to the Israeli people, and particularly to the Palestinians that were there before. So I believe this is going to happen very soon. I do not know the dynamics of this, but I can assure you that this is the trajectory and the timeline we are now in. And I hope and pray that it will happen very soon, because we are all exhausted. So that's it for this chapter. We will now enter the next chapter, which is a little bit of a bonus. It's called 13.9, The DUMBs, Deep Underground Military Bases, the Invisible Underground War. This will be a very interesting chapter indeed, and it will conclude our World War IV series. So I hope I'll see you there on the next one. And thank you very much for the attention today. I hope to have inspired you. So I'll see you on the other side. Max out, and peace.